Okay, everyone, let's do some tests of Rufus, Shinra, who I once again would like to reiterate, not able to do polls for. This is all of your fault, oh dear viewers. But it's okay. So considering that I've had to go basically to full pity for Zach, and wasn't lucky on Karsha at all, you know what? Maybe it's just kind of time to give up the ghost a little bit. Also, for whatever reason, the most recent update on JP seems to have cleared out all of a lot of my settings, which not a fan of, game. Not a fan at all. So we are gonna just be I couldn't remember which one I actually previously used. So we're starting up on the mountain here, and we're just go all the way. We're just gonna slowly get all of our characters down here because I was in a little bit of a rush. But first off, I mean, this is kind of a good showcase of maybe one of those things that we tend to forget about with gunners, is that they are not usually the best when it comes to mobility on these kind of terrains. So just a steep, sturdy reminder some of the issues that we can witness with some of these characters, because those are important. So we'll get our characters down here. This is also a potentially good way to just test out height related issues. So yeah, just getting our characters over here, casting all of the abilities that we need to cast. And yeah, if we were to just take a look here, yeah, Rufus Shinra does have some height issues, so that should be a consideration. And yeah, same basically looks like with all of his abilities. We do have some little bit of reduction in those kind of issues, but it is still present. So in here, just throw on. This will even give some extra bonuses. Reckons if she can outlast some of this new DPS. And it's fine. We're really not much of a. Alright, so now let's get, we should be able to get into it, and just starting off with a limit burst, quite powerful over there. Let's see how it does against Mont. Now, interestingly, Mont, pretty damage resistant here. So what's going on? We do have that curse resistance, we do have that stun resistance, which is actually really beneficial, especially against this character, since stun is a major thing on his limit burst. If Hero King Mont is able to prevent that, then Light Stock is probably still pretty high overall. Also 40% shooting resistance, working very hard to knock down this DPS. But if we try and just fire off against some other characters here, once again, we can see a little bit of the, but again, line of sight being much of a issue will cause some problems here. Basically, Mont will be taking that damage in. So we do want to probably just bring our character down over here, give us a little bit better of a actual peek, and just to make sure. Go game. There we go. So about 3,400 on him. We look over here, 0 because of that actual barrier. 29% accuracy, so without some actual more focus on accuracy builds, he may have some problems with evasion based characters, but it's not 0%, so there is actually a good hope. Of course, that limit burst is working to do a few other things. We have those debuffs as well. We also have that stun at 98%, 80%. Flipping over 8%, not sure why, and 0%. So just a little bit of stun resistance goes a long way to potentially preventing some of the things that Rufus is able to do. Not particularly able to block, but interestingly, like, this is pretty early on, and we are able to fire off that limit burst into quite a long distance across the entire map, much as we would expect, but still. Going on to look at some other things. So we have that AP reduction here. We also have that poison at 73% chance. So it seems like poison will be fairly reliable. However, once again, 50% resistance here from Shrek knocks that down to essentially 0% against her. Only 52% against our tank, 0% against other characters. So it kind of ranges for how much we're actually doing. And if we just look, some HP barriers still getting through, roughly in about the 3,000 to 4,000 range. So next up, taking a look at his triple shot. Once again, DPS, fairly decent, kind of ranging in around there. I do think that this is one of those characters that will do better the longer the battle is going, especially if he can start chaining through those follow-up attacks and focusing on a specific damage type, more specifically his specific damage type. So can we get through any barriers? Well, that's a good question. Taking a look at his kit, such as it is, we have removal of distance-based resistance. We have Dispel, Ignore, Fatal, but decrease AP, poison, status effects, and all of that, knockback, missile resistance, and movement down. He has no way of actually getting through barriers, which is definitely a problem for him, as HP barriers are not a thing uncommon for him. So let's take a moment, let's go back. We are going to cast this other ability on him. And then let's just fire off some attacks against Rufus Shinra himself. First off, AoEs. So we can see that it's quite a strong AoE here. Not particularly, however, that much damage if we're really looking at it. 1866 for a attack like this doesn't feel that impressive. 80% chance of curse, but unlike some other characters, this character doesn't have particularly many ways of restoring HP. So as such, it's not really that big of a problem. Instead, he's gone for more of defensive options to keep him alive, rather than trying to restore HP like a bunch of other characters. So curse is not as big of an issue, potentially. But yeah, wide AoEs from Sephiroth here, not doing that much, at least initially, because of his support-based skill giving him essentially 3 hits at 40% damage resistance, as well as the extra damage resistance. So we'll just take a step back, bring in Gilgamesh here, fire off Gilgamesh's attack, and more respectable damage. Also, Frostbite might be nasty. I mean, he does have AP regeneration, so chances are by the time he is in range, he has generated enough AP that this won't be that big of a problem. But Frostbite can still particularly hit him, and again, we're not having any actual HP barriers, and even if the HP barrier that he gets from Axe Knight is physical damage only, does not include magical damage, and there are plenty of good magical teams out there. The other thing that I'm kind of worried about in early testing, even though you look at this character and it's like, wow, 2000 attack, pretty good damage resistances. The big thing that this grouping, like the best shooting teams that I've seen, have had to struggle with is piercing, and piercing is definitely also experiencing a very powerful moment here. So we don't have any piercing base units exactly ready to take it. I think that more will be a problem for this character as well, especially if she just has you focused her trust stones around stun and anti-poison, probably will be more than enough to have a good fight against Rufus Shinra. So let's we're not going to attack just yet. Try a few others. So elemental resistance here, also single target. Now, he does have a pretty good amount of single target resistance opposed to AoE. And you can see here, is working hard to save him, but actually Ashen Mont really doing quite a lot. We move in even closer to Rufus, if the game will. And we're doing even more damage because that distance-based resistance is effectively gone at this point. And yeah, quite nice for dealing a bunch of damage to him quite reliably. And the other thing to note is that Ashen Mont and Spring June will be getting upgraded this month, which is maybe a little bit scary of a proposition for a new lightning character coming along, since Ashen Mont was really good back then and is still being used today. More upgrades will essentially push him into more a little bit. But yeah, Shreken's Limit Burst in the past, previously considered to be quite powerful, and here we can also see it being very powerful. The big thing to me that kind of pokes holes in the whole gunner base thing as well is Harsha, who stays well back and truly out of range with hate down and just heals through a lot of damage. So if the shooting thing is going to work, it essentially has to push really hard, really fast, because as per usual, it does die off very quickly. So here, if we just fire off this attack against Rufus, we can see there that we have taken a bunch of damage very quickly from follow-up attacks, from all of that good stuff, and he doesn't have what a lot of other characters have, which is the HP restoral effect. So if we just take here, look at Mont, we're going to fire off an attack here as Mont against all of these characters and just kind of see what happens. So we are getting that follow-up attack from Rufus Shinra, and he did knock it back. Interestingly, in combination with Hero King Mont's Limit Burst, it actually is pretty interesting, the idea of immobilizing and knocking back at the same time, which could be very nice for protecting far back range gunners. And I don't think it would be that much of a stretch to potentially think of a team where it's Hero King Mont, Rufus Shinra, and possibly Elena as well, working very well together, since there's a fair amount of synergy between vision cards and everything like that. So what this effectively boils down to me taking a look is that Rufus Shinra does feel very powerful, a lot of utility, and is essentially one of the things I would want from a range-based character. But he is a little bit more glaring in some of the issues that he has, that it does have to be a really quick battle. Otherwise, it's probably going to be a lot. It also does kind of require a lot of newer characters to potentially work. If in the form of gunners, probably and almost certainly will require X2 Yuna, which is out of range at this point for most players to get, and who knows exactly when that collaboration will come back in the future. So yeah, my overall final impressions of Rufus Shinra is that he is an absolutely incredible gunner that is probably going to make a really good gunner team, but I can't see it being the thing that defeats every single team out there, because with enough focus on the right things, I think you can prevent it from being too negative and just essentially getting through. So yeah, that is my opinion. Still a great character to get and use in multiple different maps, multiple different locations, but can't pull for him anyway, so that leaves me out of contention for this character. But I will say I will keep an eye on test videos that happen out there and report back on it later. And so later.